I was staring at my husband installing a baby monitor in our nursery when I noticed the tiny red light that shouldn't have been there. 6 months pregnant with our first child, I thought I knew everything about the man I'd married 3 years ago. Daniel was my college sweetheart, the guy who brought me soup when I was sick, who proposed with my grandmother's ring, who cried happy tears when we saw our baby's heartbeat for the first time. He was patient, kind, and completely devoted to building our perfect little family. Or so I thought. We'd been together for 8 years total, married for 3 of them. Daniel worked as an IT consultant, which explained his obsession with having the most high-tech baby monitor system money could buy. I'd laughed when he came home with this elaborate setup, multiple cameras, night vision, temperature sensors, two-way audio, smartphone connectivity. "Babe, it's just a baby monitor," I'd teased him. "Not mission control. I want to make sure our little one is always safe," he'd said, kissing my forehead. "And I want you to have peace of mind too. You can check on the baby from anywhere in the house, even when you're downstairs making dinner or doing laundry." It seemed sweet. Overly protective maybe, but sweet. Daniel had always been the tech-savvy one in our relationship. He set up all our devices, managed our home security system, even programmed our smart thermostat. I trusted him completely with anything electronic. The nursery had been my project for months. Soft yellow walls because we wanted to be surprised by the baby's gender. White crib with delicate bedding I'd picked out myself. A rocking chair by the window where I imagined myself nursing our baby while watching the sunrise. Everything was perfect, peaceful, ready for our daughter who was due in 3 months. "There," Daniel said, stepping back from the monitor he'd just mounted on the wall. "All set up. Want to see how it works?" I waddled over, my hand resting on my belly. Our baby girl had been especially active today, doing what felt like somersaults. "Show me, tech genius." He pulled out his phone and opened an app. The screen displayed a crystal clear view of our empty nursery. He demonstrated the pan and zoom features, the night vision mode, even the two-way speaker that would let us talk to our baby from anywhere in the house. "This is incredible quality," I admitted. "But isn't this overkill? How much did this thing cost?" "Don't worry about the cost. Nothing's too expensive for our family's security." That's when I noticed it. As Daniel was showing me the different camera angles, tilting the device left and right, I saw a second tiny red recording light on the back of the monitor. It was barely visible, hidden behind the main camera housing. "What's that little light?" I asked, pointing at it. Daniel's hand froze on his phone. For just a split second, I saw something flash across his face. Panic? Guilt? But then he smiled. "Oh, that's just the power indicator for the backup recording feature. It stores footage locally in case the Wi-Fi goes down." It made sense. Daniel was always thinking ahead, always preparing for every possible scenario. I'd seen him spend hours researching the best surge protectors and backup drives for our computers. Of course he'd want a baby monitor with redundant recording systems. But something nagged at me. The way he'd hesitated. The way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. The way he quickly changed the subject to talk about installing motion sensors in the hallway. Over the next few days, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I started paying closer attention to Daniel's behavior around the house. He was on his phone more than usual, and he'd started closing his laptop whenever I walked into the room. When I asked about work, his answers were vague. "Everything okay?" I asked one evening as we were getting ready for bed. "You seem distracted lately." "Just busy with a big project," he said, not looking up from his phone. "Sorry, babe. Once this client situation is resolved, things will calm down." I wanted to believe him. Daniel had always been honest with me. In 8 years together, I'd never had a reason to doubt him. He'd never given me cause for suspicion or jealousy. He was the steady, reliable one in our relationship while I was more emotional and impulsive. But pregnant hormones make you paranoid, right? That had to be it. I was 6 months along, my body was changing, my emotions were all over the place. It was normal to feel insecure and suspicious about everything. Dr. Martinez had warned me about this at my last appointment. Still, I found myself staring at that baby monitor more and more. During the day when Daniel was at work, I'd go into the nursery and examine it. The red light was always there, blinking steadily. I tried to Google the exact model number, but Daniel had removed all the packaging and I couldn't find any identifying information on the device itself. One afternoon, I decided to test something. I called Daniel at work while standing in the nursery. "Hey honey," I said when he answered. "Quick question about the baby monitor. I was just checking on the setup and I noticed the camera seems to be recording even though nobody's watching. Is that normal?" There was a pause. "Yeah, that's the backup feature I told you about. It's always recording to the local storage, just in case. But the red light is on even when I'm not using the app on my phone." "Right, because it's continuously recording. That's the point of the backup system." His explanation sounded reasonable, but his voice had that same strained quality I'd noticed when I first asked about the light. Like he was reading from a script. After I hung up, I stood there staring at the monitor. Something deep in my gut told me this wasn't right. But what was I supposed to do? Accuse my husband of lying about a baby monitor? It sounded insane even in my own head. The next week, Daniel announced he needed to go on a business trip. 3 days in Chicago for a client consultation. It was short notice, and normally I would have been annoyed about him traveling so close to my due date. But part of me was relieved. Maybe some time apart would help me get my head straight and stop these paranoid thoughts. "Are you sure you'll be okay alone?" he asked, packing his suitcase. "I can try to reschedule if you're not comfortable." "I'll be fine." Sarah said she'd check on me. My sister lived 20 minutes away and had been incredibly supportive throughout my pregnancy. Besides, it's only 3 days. "Call me if you need anything." "Anything at all." He kissed me goodbye, his hand lingering on my belly. "Take care of our little girl." After Daniel left for the airport, I had lunch with my sister Sarah. We went to our favorite cafe, and I found myself telling her about my weird feelings regarding the baby monitor. "So you think there's something suspicious about a baby monitor?" Sarah asked, raising an eyebrow. "Emma, honey, I think the pregnancy hormones are getting to you. I know how it sounds. But something feels wrong. The way he acts when I ask about it, like he's hiding something." "Daniel? Hiding something?" Sarah laughed. "He's the most transparent guy on the planet. Remember when he spent 20 minutes explaining why he bought the expensive toilet paper? He tells you everything." She was right. Daniel over-explained everything, from grocery purchases to TV show choices. He was incapable of keeping secrets, which is why this felt so strange. "Maybe I should just trust my instincts," I said. "Or maybe you should trust your husband of 3 years who's never given you any reason to doubt him." That evening, alone in the house, I kept gravitating toward the nursery. I'd find myself standing in the doorway, staring at that monitor. The red light blinked steadily, like a tiny eye watching me. Around 10 o'clock, I decided to do some research. I sat in bed with my laptop and started searching for information about hidden cameras disguised as baby monitors. What I found made my blood run cold. Article after article about domestic surveillance, about husbands who secretly recorded their wives, about tiny cameras hidden in everyday household objects. The more I read, the more convinced I became that something was very wrong with our baby monitor. One article described exactly what I'd been seeing, legitimate baby monitors that had been modified with additional recording equipment. The modification was almost undetectable unless you knew what to look for. A second recording light. Extended battery life. Unusual wireless signals. My hands were shaking as I read testimonial after testimonial from women who discovered they were being secretly filmed in their own homes. In their bedrooms. In their bathrooms. While they were changing clothes, showering, sleeping. I thought about all the times I'd been in the nursery over the past week. trying on maternity clothes, doing pregnancy yoga, even changing into my pajamas because the nursery had better lighting than our bedroom. Had Daniel been watching me without my knowledge? Recording me? I closed the laptop and sat in the dark, my mind racing. This was insane. Daniel loved me. We were having a baby together. He wasn't some creepy stalker, he was my husband. The father of my child. But I couldn't shake the image of that second red light. Hidden. Deliberately concealed. I barely slept that night. Every time I started to drift off, I'd think about that monitor and jolt awake. By morning, I'd made a decision. I needed to know for sure. I called my friend Marcus, who worked in cybersecurity. He was one of Daniel's college buddies, and I trusted him completely. Emma, hey. How's the pregnancy going? Good, good. Listen, Marcus, I need a favor and this might sound weird. I think there might be something wrong with our baby monitor. Could you take a look at it? Wrong how? I think it might have some kind of hidden recording feature that Daniel didn't tell me about. There was a long pause. That's a pretty serious accusation, Emma. Are you sure you want to go down this road? I need to know. Something doesn't feel right, and I can't shake it. Okay. I can come by this afternoon. But Emma, if I find what you think I'm going to find, it's going to change everything. Marcus arrived at 3 o'clock with a bag full of electronic testing equipment. He was tall and lanky, with the kind of intense focus that made him excellent at his job. He'd helped us set up our home security system when we first moved in, and Daniel had always trusted his expertise. Show me this monitor, he said. I led him to the nursery, pointing at the device mounted on the wall. Marcus pulled out some kind of scanner and began running it around the monitor. Okay, I'm picking up multiple wireless signals from this device. More than a standard baby monitor should have. He frowned at his scanner. Emma, I need to take this down and examine it properly. Is that okay? My heart was pounding. Yes. Please. Marcus carefully removed the monitor from its mounting bracket. As soon as he turned it over, I heard him intake a sharp breath. What is it? This isn't just a baby monitor. His voice was grim. Someone has extensively modified this device. There's additional recording equipment, extra memory storage, and what looks like a secondary transmission system. The room started spinning. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. What does that mean? It means this thing has been recording everything in this room and transmitting it somewhere else. Not just when you're using the baby monitor app, continuously. 24/7. Transmitting to where? Marcus was connecting cables to his laptop, downloading data from the monitor. Give me a few minutes to trace the signal path. I sank into the rocking chair, my hands protectively covering my belly. Our daughter was moving around, as if she could sense my distress. How long had this been going on? What had Daniel seen? What had he recorded? Emma. Marcus's voice was very quiet. You need to see this. I walked over to his laptop screen. He'd accessed the monitor's local storage and found hundreds of video files, organized by date and time. My own face stared back at me from thumbnail after thumbnail. These files go back 3 weeks, Marcus said. Every time you've been in this room, it's been recorded. But Emma, that's not the worst part. What do you mean? This device is also transmitting to an external server. All of these recordings have been uploaded somewhere else in real time. I felt like I was going to throw up. Can you tell where? Marcus clicked through several screens. The IP address traces back to a cloud storage account. But I can't access it without login credentials. Can you figure out whose account it is? Not directly. But I can tell you that the account was accessed from your husband's phone and laptop multiple times over the past 3 weeks. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. Daniel hadn't just been watching me secretly, he'd been collecting videos of me. Storing them. Accessing them regularly. Marcus, I need to ask you something and I need you to be completely honest. Of course. In your professional opinion, what is this equipment typically used for? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Emma, this level of surveillance is what we see in stalking cases. Or in situations where someone is collecting compromising material for blackmail or coercion. You think Daniel is stalking me? His own wife? I think Daniel has been secretly recording you without your consent, and I think he's been doing it systematically. This isn't accidental or innocent. I started crying then. Not just tears, but deep, body-shaking sobs. The man I'd trusted completely, the father of my unborn child, had been violating my privacy in the most intimate way possible. What do? I asked through my tears. First, we document everything. I'm going to copy all these files and trace the transmission logs. Then you need to decide what you want to do with this information. What are my options? Well, secret recording of someone without consent is illegal in most states. Depending on what's in these videos and what he's done with them, this could be criminal surveillance, invasion of privacy, maybe more. I thought about Daniel's business trip. Had he been watching me through this monitor even while he was in Chicago? Had he been accessing these recordings from his hotel room? Can you tell when these files were last accessed? Marcus checked the logs. The most recent access was yesterday at 11:47 p.m. Yesterday. Daniel had been in Chicago yesterday, but he'd been watching recordings of me in our nursery. The nursery where his daughter would sleep in 3 months. I need to confront him, I said. Are you sure that's safe? Emma, if he's been doing this level of surveillance, there might be other things you don't know about. The thought sent chills down my spine. What do you mean? I mean, maybe we should check the rest of your house for hidden cameras before you talk to him. Over the next 2 hours, Marcus swept our entire home with his detection equipment. What he found made me sick to my stomach. A tiny camera hidden in our bedroom smoke detector. Another one built into the bathroom fan. A third one concealed in the living room bookshelf. Our house, our home, was full of hidden surveillance equipment. How long has this been going on? I whispered. Based on the installation dates I can pull from the devices, it looks like he started with the bedroom camera about 6 months ago. Right around the time you got pregnant. 6 months ago. Daniel had started secretly recording me as soon as he found out we were having a baby. Why would he do this? I don't know, Emma. But we need to document everything before he gets back from his trip. Marcus spent the rest of the afternoon copying files, tracing IP addresses, and building a comprehensive record of Daniel's surveillance system. I sat in stunned silence, trying to process the fact that my marriage was built on lies. My phone buzzed with a text from Daniel. Hope you're having a good day, beautiful. Missing you and our little girl. Home tomorrow evening. I stared at the message, rage building in my chest. He was pretending to be the loving, devoted husband while secretly violating every boundary of trust and privacy. Marcus, can you tell what he's been doing with these recordings? Some of them have been transferred to external drives. And I found evidence that files have been shared with at least 3 different email addresses. Shared? He's been sharing videos of me with other people? It looks that way. I was going to be sick. Not only had Daniel been secretly recording me, he'd been distributing the videos. To whom? Why? What kind of sick game was he playing? I want copies of everything, I said. Every file, every log, every piece of evidence. Emma, what are you going to do? I thought about it for a long moment. 3 days ago, I'd been excitedly planning my baby shower and picking out nursery decorations. Now I was discovering that my husband was a predator who'd been systematically violating me for months. I'm going to destroy him. That evening, I called my sister Sarah and asked her to come over. When I showed her the evidence Marcus had compiled, she went pale. Oh my God, Emma. This is serious criminal behavior. I know. You need to call the police. Tonight. I need to confront Daniel first. Are you insane? This man has been secretly recording you for months. He's been sharing intimate videos of you with strangers. You don't know what else he's capable of. But I wasn't thinking rationally. I was thinking about 8 years of my life that had been built on lies. I was thinking about the baby growing inside me who would have this man as her father. I was thinking about the wedding ring on my finger that suddenly felt like a chain. I need to hear him admit it, I said. I need to look him in the eye and hear him explain why he did this. Sarah stayed with me that night. We barely slept, going through the evidence again and again, trying to understand the scope of Daniel's deception. The files Marcus had recovered showed months of recordings, not just from the nursery but from every room in our house. Hours and hours of footage of me living my normal life, completely unaware that I was being watched. Some of the recordings were clearly intended to capture intimate moments. Times when I was changing clothes, showering, or being physically affectionate with Daniel himself. Those were the files that had been shared with external email addresses. By morning, I'd made my decision. I was going to confront Daniel when he got home, but I was going to do it on my terms. Daniel's flight was scheduled to land at 6 p.m. I spent the day preparing. I called in sick to work and used the time to visit a divorce attorney Sarah had recommended. I explained the situation and showed him Marcus's evidence. This is one of the most clear-cut cases of domestic surveillance I've ever seen, the attorney said. Your husband has committed multiple felonies. You have grounds for both criminal charges and a divorce that would be heavily in your favor. What about custody of our daughter? Given this level of predatory behavior, I'd be surprised if he got any custody at all. Emma, this man has been systematically violating you. No judge is going to trust him with a child. I also stopped by the police station and filed a report. The detective I spoke with reviewed Marcus's evidence and opened a formal investigation. We'll need to execute a search warrant on your home and seize all the surveillance equipment, Detective Rodriguez explained. But I have to warn you, if your husband realizes you've discovered his activities, he might try to destroy evidence or escalate his behavior. I understand the risks. Are you sure you want to confront him before we arrest him? I need to do this. When Daniel walked through our front door at 7 p.m., I was sitting in the living room waiting for him. He looked tired from his business trip but smiled when he saw me. Hey beautiful, he said, dropping his suitcase and coming over to kiss me. How are my girls? I didn't kiss him back. We need to talk. Something in my tone made him pause. Is everything okay? Is the baby okay? The baby is fine. Our marriage, however, is over. Daniel's face went white. Emma, what are you talking about? I found your cameras, Daniel. For a moment, he just stared at me. Then I watched his expression cycle through confusion, denial, and finally resignation. I can explain, he said quietly. Please do. Explain to me why my husband has been secretly recording me for 6 months. Explain why there are hidden cameras in our bedroom, our bathroom, and our baby's nursery. Explain why you've been sharing intimate videos of me with strangers. Daniel sank into a chair across from me. It's not what you think. Then what is it? I was protecting you. The audacity of that statement made me laugh, but it wasn't a happy sound. Protecting me? By violating my privacy and distributing videos of me without my consent? You don't understand. There are people who want to hurt you, hurt us. I needed to make sure you were safe. What people, Daniel? I can't tell you. It would put you in more danger. He was still lying. Even caught red-handed, he was spinning elaborate stories to avoid taking responsibility for his actions. Daniel, I know about the external servers. I know about the email addresses you've been sharing files with. I know about the live feeds you've been accessing from your phone. Don't insult my intelligence by pretending this was about protection. His shoulders slumped. How did you find out? That doesn't matter. What matters is that you've been systematically violating me for months. In our home. In our bedroom. In the nursery where our daughter is going to sleep. Emma, please. Let me explain the whole situation. No. You've had 6 months to explain. You've had countless opportunities to tell me the truth. Instead, you chose to lie to my face every single day while secretly recording my most private moments. Daniel started crying then. I love you, Emma. I love our baby. I never meant for this to hurt you. How could secretly recording me and sharing videos with strangers not hurt me? The people I was sharing them with, they're not strangers. They're security professionals who were helping me assess potential threats. Even his tears felt manipulative now. What threats, Daniel? What are you talking about? Your ex-boyfriend from college. Jake. He's been stalking you online, making threats. I hired a private security firm to help me protect you. I stared at him. Jake? I hadn't thought about Jake in years. We'd dated briefly in college, but it ended amicably. I'd heard through mutual friends that he'd gotten married and moved to another state. That's the best lie you can come up with? Jake Martinez, who I dated for 3 months 5 years ago? It's not a lie. I have evidence of his threats. Show me. Daniel hesitated. I don't have it with me. It's on my work laptop. Convenient. Emma, please. You have to believe me. Everything I did was to keep you and our baby safe. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, I could see Detective Rodriguez's unmarked car parked across the street. He'd been waiting for my signal. Daniel, I'm going to give you one chance to tell me the truth. The real truth. Why did you install those cameras? There was a long silence. When I turned around, Daniel was staring at his hands. I was scared, he said finally. Scared of what? Of losing you. Now we were getting somewhere. Why would you lose me? Because I'm not good enough for you. Because you're beautiful and smart and you could have anyone. Because once the baby comes, you might realize you don't need me anymore. The confession hung in the air between us. This wasn't about protection or threats or security. This was about control and possession and Daniel's own insecurities. So you decided to spy on me? I wanted to know if you were being faithful. I wanted to make sure you weren't talking to other men or planning to leave me. And the videos you shared with those email addresses? Daniel's face crumpled. I was showing them to guys online. Guys who said I was lucky to have such a beautiful wife. It made me feel good, having other men envy what I had. There it was. The truth. Daniel had been treating me like his property, showing me off to strangers online like I was some kind of trophy he owned. You've been sharing intimate videos of me with random men on the internet so they would tell you how lucky you are? It wasn't like that. I never showed your face in the intimate ones. And I never told them your name or where we live. That's supposed to make this better? Emma, please. I know it was wrong, but I can change. I'll delete everything, remove all the cameras, go to counseling. Whatever you want. I walked back to where he was sitting and looked down at him. This man who I'd loved, who I'd planned to spend my life with, who I'd trusted with everything. Daniel, there is no coming back from this. You've been violating me for months. You've been sharing my body with strangers without my consent. You've been lying to my face every single day. I can fix this. No, you can't. I pulled out my phone and texted Detective Rodriguez, come in now. Within minutes, there was a knock at our door. Daniel's face went white when he saw the police officers. Daniel Morrison, you're under arrest for unlawful surveillance, invasion of privacy, and distribution of intimate images without consent. As they read him his rights and put him in handcuffs, Daniel kept looking at me with desperate eyes. Emma, please. Think about our baby. She needs her father. Our baby needs to be protected from her father, I replied. After they took Daniel away, I sat in our living room surrounded by evidence boxes while Marcus and the police tech team documented and removed all the surveillance equipment. Our home felt different now, violated, poisoned by the knowledge of what had been happening in secret. Sarah came over and held me while I cried. "What am I going to do?" I asked. "I'm 6 months pregnant with the baby of a man who's been systematically abusing me." "You're going to be fine," she said. "You're going to raise your daughter in a home free from surveillance and lies. You're going to show her what real love looks like, not this twisted possession and control." Over the next few weeks, the full scope of Daniel's activities became clear. The police investigation revealed that he'd been sharing my videos in online forums dedicated to surveillance wives, communities of men who secretly recorded their partners and shared the footage with each other. He'd been doing this for months, building up a collection of videos that he would trade with other men for their recordings. It was a whole underground network of domestic abuse disguised as a hobby. The district attorney charged Daniel with multiple felonies. The evidence was so overwhelming that his lawyer recommended he take a plea deal rather than go to trial. I filed for divorce immediately. Given the criminal charges and evidence of his systematic violation of my privacy, the proceedings were straightforward. I was awarded full custody of our unborn daughter, the house, and the majority of our assets. But the legal victories felt hollow compared to the psychological damage. I had to go through the rest of my pregnancy knowing that the father of my child was a predator. I had to rebuild my sense of safety and privacy in my own home. I had to explain to family and friends why my marriage had imploded so suddenly. The hardest part was the betrayal of trust. For 8 years, I'd believed Daniel was one of the good ones. Patient, kind, devoted. I'd never questioned his motives or doubted his integrity. The realization that he'd been capable of such systematic deception forced me to question my judgment about everything. 3 months later, my daughter Lily was born. As I held her in the hospital, I made her a promise: I would never let anyone violate her privacy, control her body, or make her feel like property. I would teach her to trust her instincts, to value her autonomy, and to recognize the difference between love and possession. Daniel wrote me letters from prison, begging for forgiveness and claiming he'd changed. I never responded. There was nothing he could say that would undo months of systematic violation and betrayal. The other men in his online network were also investigated. Several were arrested on similar charges. The whole community of men who'd been sharing intimate videos of their partners without consent was exposed and prosecuted. I moved to a new house before Lily was born. I couldn't raise my daughter in a place that had been contaminated by her father's crimes. The new house has no smart devices, no internet-connected cameras, no sophisticated monitoring systems. Just basic security and lots of natural light. Lily is 3 years old now. She's beautiful, curious, and completely unaware that her father is a convicted felon. Someday I'll have to explain why Daddy isn't around, but for now, she's just happy and loved and safe. I've started speaking to women's groups about digital privacy and domestic surveillance. Many people don't realize how easy it is for someone to secretly monitor them using everyday devices. Smartphones, tablets, baby monitors, home security systems, all of these can be modified or hacked for covert surveillance. The signs I ignored are now clear to me. Daniel's obsession with managing all our technology. His reluctance to let me access our shared devices. The way he'd close his laptop when I entered the room. His insistence on buying the most sophisticated baby monitor system available. But the biggest red flag was my own instinct. From the moment I saw that second recording light, some part of me knew something was wrong. I should have trusted that feeling immediately instead of letting Daniel gaslight me into doubting myself. Trust your gut. If something feels off about your partner's behavior, investigate. If they're overly controlling about technology, ask questions. If they install surveillance equipment for your protection, make sure you understand exactly how it works and who has access to the recordings. Love shouldn't feel like surveillance. Marriage shouldn't involve secret monitoring. Your home should be a place where you feel completely safe and private, not like you're living under constant observation. The man I thought I married was a fiction. The real Daniel was someone who saw me as property to be monitored and displayed rather than a partner to be trusted and respected. I'm grateful I discovered the truth before Lily was born, before she could be subjected to his twisted need for control. It's taken 3 years, but I'm finally starting to feel safe in my own life again. I'm dating someone new, a man who respects my privacy, who doesn't need to monitor my every move to feel secure in our relationship. Someone who understands that real love requires trust, not surveillance. My perfect marriage was never perfect at all. It was a carefully constructed lie designed to hide systematic abuse. But my imperfect life as a single mother is infinitely better than the fake perfection I thought I had. Have you experienced something like this? Tell me in the comments.